Ladies and gentlemen, there exists no greater fortress in this world than the trained human mind. A mind that is firm in purpose, bulletproof in belief, and anchored in resilience can bend the very elements of fate to its will. Today, I bring you a new focus, a focused lens on the supreme asset of resilience. Not the kind that merely endures hardship, but the kind that transmutes adversity into power. A strong mind begins with a clear and definite purpose. Without purpose, the mind drifts, tossed like a leaf in the wind, reacting to every circumstance, every opinion, and every minor setback. But once a person chooses a purpose, something so specific, so vivid, so compelling that it ignites a fire within, then all of life's chaos begins to organize itself. The mind becomes a tool of direction rather than confusion. Defining your purpose is not just a motivational exercise, it is the blueprint from which all resilience is constructed. When you know exactly what you want and why you want it, everything else begins to take shape. Decisions become easier. Distractions begin to fall away. Adversity stops feeling like a punishment and starts feeling like a test, one you were built to pass. The mind, when left without a definite chief aim, becomes the playground of fear, worry, doubt, and procrastination. It bounces from idea to idea, from ambition to ambition, never settling, never finishing, never finding true power. But when you fix your mind on a goal with unwavering resolve, you engage forces far greater than motivation. You trigger the machinery of destiny. A definite purpose acts like a magnet. It draws to you the ideas, people, opportunities, and resources that align with your goal. Your subconscious mind begins to filter the world differently. Suddenly, what seemed random before now seems connected. You begin to notice patterns, to see openings, to find courage where before there was hesitation. This is not magic. This is the power of mental clarity harnessed for the building of inner strength. But to be effective, your purpose must not be vague. Saying, "I want to be successful," or "I want to be happy" is not enough. These are wishes, not blueprints. The strong mind requires specifics. What kind of success? In what field? By when? What would that look like? Feel like? Why is it worth the fight? The more detailed your purpose, the more powerful your mind becomes. Clarity eliminates confusion, and confusion is the enemy of resilience. Many people fail not because they lack intelligence or talent, but because they never truly decided what they wanted. They live by reaction, not by design. They chase one thing until it gets hard, then jump to another. Their minds grow tired from the cycle of starting and stopping, from chasing illusions and abandoning dreams. But the individual who sets a firm, definite goal and commits to it with fierce loyalty develops an inner stamina that most never know. They build mental muscle by staying the course. They condition their thinking to find solutions rather than excuses. They learn to see setbacks not as roadblocks, but as recalibrations on the path to something greater. A definite purpose also sharpens your identity. You stop living to please others. You stop compromising your principles to fit in. You become loyal to your mission, and that loyalty gives to power. It gives you the strength to say no to what doesn't serve you in eyes, to what builds you. It gives you direction, and direction gives you discipline. And discipline is the backbone of a resilient mind. Once your purpose is locked in, everything changes. Your thoughts are no longer scattered. They're structured. Your emotions are no longer erratic. They're guided. Your actions are no longer random. They're intentional. And when life hits you, and it will, you will not collapse under the weight of uncertainty. You will rise because you are not guessing. You are not hoping. You are deciding every day, every hour, every moment to move forward in alignment with your purpose. In a world filled with noise, a definite purpose gives your mind silence and certainty. In a world filled with distractions, it gives your mind a straight line to focus on. And in a world filled with doubt, it gives your mind a reason to believe. The strong mind begins with a choice, a decision to live with intention, not reaction. Once you make that, resilience is no longer something you fight to find. It becomes something you live by nature. Struggle is not the enemy. It is the architect of strength. Those who build strong minds do not run from adversity, they rise to meet it. While the average person views difficulty as a sign to quit, the resilient individual sees it as an opportunity to grow. Struggle is not a detour, it is part of the path. In fact, it is the path. Every great mind, every powerful life has been shaped in the furnace of hardship. There is no shortcut, no easy route. The stronger your mind must be, the more refined it must become, and that refinement comes through resistance. It is in the face of struggle that the mind is forced to make a choice, collapse or adapt. And it is this repeated act of adaptation, of pushing forward when the easier option is to turn back, that forges resilience. Muscles do not grow without tension, and the same is true of mental strength. Each challenge you face forces your mind to stretch, to dig deeper, to activate reserves you didn't even know you had. What once seemed impossible starts to become manageable. Not because life got easier, but because your mind got stronger. Struggle brings out the real you. When things are easy, anyone can appear confident and composed. But when pressure rises, when plans fall apart, when the unexpected shows up, when life pushes you to the edge, that is when your true mental character is revealed. And the beauty is that's also when it is shaped. Every storm you endure leaves behind a lesson, a scar, a layer of strength. You learn how to breathe through pain, how to think under pressure, how to stay focused when everything around you is chaos. You don't just survive struggle, you are transformed by it. To avoid struggle is to avoid growth. People often say they want a strong mind, but what they really mean is they want a peaceful life. Those are not the same thing. A peaceful life is passive. A strong mind is active. Peace is a result, not a starting point. You earn peace by enduring the fire. You earn confidence by walking through fear. You earn wisdom by falling, learning, and rising again. If you avoid the hardship, you rob yourself of the strength that could have been built from it. One of the greatest shifts in mindset you can make is to start seeing struggle as training. Just like a weightlifter adds more resistance to build more strength. Life adds challenges to build your capacity. And every time you face a new struggle, you are being given a choicing. Will you retreat or will you rise? Most people retreat. They retreat into comfort, into excuses, into the belief that their limits are fixed. But those who build strong minds push forward. They use the struggle as a forge, knowing that pressure creates diamonds and fire tempers steel. There will be times when the struggle feels overwhelming, when progress seems slow, when nothing seems to go right. In those moments, the temptation to give up will scream louder than your dreams. But it is precisely in those moments that your mind is doing its most important work. It is learning to operate under pressure. It is learning to stay disciplined in discomfort. It is learning that struggle does not define you. Your response to it does. You cannot build a fortress in calm weather alone. You must face the storm. And as you walk through struggle after struggle, something changes. You stop fearing hardship. You stop doubting your ability to handle the next challenge. Why? Because you've done it before. You've failed and risen. You've fallen and rebuilt. You've suffered and kept going. That history becomes your power. It becomes your proof. So don't fear the struggle. Don't curse it. Don't avoid it. Welcome it. Embrace it. Lean into it, knowing that every drop of sweat, every sleepless night, every difficult decision is shaping you into someone unshakable. A strong mind is not built in ease. It is carved from effort. And every struggle you face is not breaking you. It is building you. Your mind is constantly being shaped by the environment you create around it. What you listen to, what you watch, who you spend time with, and even what you tell yourself. All of it influences the way your mind thinks, reacts, and endures. A strong mind cannot thrive in a toxic environment. It cannot grow when it's surrounded by fear, doubt, gossip, negativity, and chaos. If you want to build true mental resilience, you must take full responsibility for the environment you allow to exist in and around your mind. Every thought you entertain either builds strength or breeds weakness. There are no neutral thoughts. They either serve you or sabotage you. That's why your mental environment must be curated as carefully as a gardener tends to his soil. You cannot grow strong roots in poisoned ground. Likewise, you cannot grow a resilient mind when you're constantly absorbing messages of limitation, scarcity, failure, and fear. Your thoughts become your beliefs, and your beliefs become your behaviors. What you feed your mind, you will eventually act on. This is why one of the most powerful things you can do for your mental strength is to monitor and filter what enters your mental space. This means eliminating the constant noise. Turn off the sources that breed anxiety, jealousy, and self-doubt. Stop scrolling through negativity disguised as news. Stop giving your energy to people who only speak defeat and discouragement. Begin replacing all of that with material that strengthens you, books that challenge you, conversations that uplift you, content that pushes you to grow. Surround yourself with people who are moving forward, not standing still. You don't need perfect people around you, but you do need people with purpose. You must also monitor the language you use with yourself. The environment inside your mind is just as important as the one outside it. Pay attention to your internal dialogue. Are you speaking life or limitation into your own mind? Are you reinforcing your ability to overcome, or are you rehearsing failure before it even happens? A strong mind speaks with intention. It refuses to allow lazy thinking, self-pity, or internal sabotage. The words you use to describe yourself and your situation matter. They create patterns of thought that can either empower you or paralyze you. Control over your mental environment also requires setting boundaries. Firm ones. You must be willing to say no. No to distractions that steal your focus. No to people who drain your energy. No to habits that numb your potential. Every no you speak to the outside world is really a bias to your inner strength. And the more you protect your space, the more your mind begins to feel safe, focused, and empowered. You don't need perfection around you to build resilience, but you do need intentionality. Even in a chaotic world, you can create pockets of peace. You can design your morning to begin with clarity instead of confusion. You can fill your time with content that uplifts rather than corrupts. You can choose to end your day reflecting on progress instead of worry. These are not small habits. They are the bricks that build the walls of a powerful mind. When your mental environment is filled with order, clarity, and encouragement, your mind naturally begins to reflect those qualities. You stop reacting to life and start responding with purpose. Your emotions become more stable, your thoughts become more productive, and your ability to endure pressure increases. Why? Because you've taken control of the conditions in which your mind operates. A strong mind is not built by accident. It is cultivated, protected, and refined. If you want to become mentally unshakable, I start by shaping the environment in which your thoughts live. Clean out the clutter. Replace the noise with clarity. Guard your inner world with the same intensity you would guard your home. Because when you take control of your mental environment, you take control of your future. Persistence is the silent force behind every strong mind. It is not loud, it does not boast, and it rarely gets praised in the beginning. But over time, persistence reveals itself as the most powerful tool in the builder's hands. While talent can get you started and inspiration may give you a boost, only persistence can carry you through the long, unseen hours of effort, failure, and delay. A strong mind is not measured by how well it starts, but by how relentlessly it continues, especially when the excitement is gone and the struggle remains. Every person who has ever accomplished anything great has encountered obstacles, often more than most people could bear, but they kept going. They persisted. They refused to allow temporary defeat to become permanent failure. That refusal, that grit, is not an accident. It is a mindset that can be built, trained, and strengthened like any other muscle. And each time you choose to persist when quitting would be easier, you're reinforcing a belief in yourself that is deeper than motivation. You're telling your mind, I do not stop when it's hard. I continue because my purpose is greater than my discomfort. A persistence is not about forcing progress at all costs. It's about continuing to move forward even if the steps are small, slow, or unsteady. The strongest minds understand that progress is often invisible in the short term. The results may not show today, this week, or even this month, but they trust the process. They believe in the principle that consistent effort compounds. They know that by simply refusing to give up, they are separating themselves from the masses who quit too early. Most people stop at the first sign of resistance. They interpret difficulty as a sign that they're not meant for something, when in fact, the resistance is the very thing that would shape them into the kind of person who is meant for it. Persistence transforms struggle into skill, effort into excellence, and repetition into mastery. There is no mastery without persistence. It is the bridge between who you are and who you want to become. One of the great secrets of a resilient mind is that it does not demand perfection. It demands consistency. It understands that failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of it. Each failed attempt, each setback, each wrong turn becomes a lesson that strengthens the mind. Instead of seeing those moments as reasons to quit, the strong-minded person sees them as instructions. What can I learn here? What can I do differently? How can I grow from this? That mindset keeps the engine running even when the terrain gets rough. Persistence also builds trust within yourself. When you keep your promises to yourself, when you say you'll keep going, and you do, you create a powerful internal alliance. You stop relying on external motivation because you've built an identity around persistence. You begin to see yourself as someone who doesn't stop, doesn't back down, and doesn't give in. That identity becomes a shield in difficult times. When doubt creeps in, you remind yourself, I've kept going before. I'll keep going now. There will be times when the results are invisible, the journey feels lonely, and the effort seems wasted. But that is when persistence matters most, because every time you continue in the absence of evidence, you're training your mind to be independent of circumstances. You're telling yourself that your drive comes from within, not from applause, not from recognition, and not even from visible success. That kind of mind cannot be broken. It cannot be bought. It cannot be stopped. So when the path is long, when progress is slow, and when the voice of doubt grows louder, persist. Keep showing up, keep moving forward. Let your consistency be louder than your excuses, because the mind that persists, even when no one is watching, is the mind that eventually achieves what others only dream about. Your thoughts are the architects of your reality. Every emotion you feel, every decision you make, and every action you take is first shaped by the thoughts you allow to dwell in your mind. If you desire to build a strong, unshakable mind, you must begin by mastering the inner dialogue. You must become the gatekeeper of your thinking, selecting what you will allow in and what must be cast out. Because whether you realize it or not, your thoughts are either building you or breaking you, lifting you or limiting you. A resilient mind is not free from negative thoughts. It has simply learned how to confront them, question them, and replace them. You don't have to believe everything you think. You don't have to be a slave to old programming, past wounds, or limiting beliefs passed down by others. Your mind becomes strong when you take back the authority you've unknowingly given to thoughts that do not serve you. This is where mental power begins, not in ignoring problems, but in choosing better perspectives. Every strong mind begins to rise when it learns to interrupt destructive patterns. When a thought enters your mind that tells you you're not enough, you must challenge it. When fear tells you to quit, you must respond. When self-doubt whispers that you will fail, you must replace that thought with one that aligns with your purpose. This isn't wishful thinking. It's mental conditioning. It's building the habit of replacing lies with truth, weakness with strength, and fear with focus. You speak to yourself more than anyone else in this world. Your internal voice is with you every hour of every day. What is it saying? Is it encouraging, empowering, and full of possibility, or is it doubtful, critical, and laced with shame? A weak mind allows that voice to go unchecked. A strong mind decides what that voice will say, and it repeats those words until they become a mental standard. Affirmation is not about tricking yourself. It's about aligning your thoughts with your vision. If your mind constantly says, "This is too hard, I can't do it," you are reinforcing a belief that will eventually show up in your actions. But if you train your thoughts to say, "This is hard, but I will grow through it," then struggle becomes fuel. Your thoughts become partners in progress rather than anchors of limitation. There will always be external noise, critics, failures, setbacks, but the loudest voice will always be your own. And if that voice is rooted in power, truth, and clarity, it will drown out every doubt that tries to steal your focus. A strong mind speaks with purpose. It does not wander aimlessly into fear. It does not ruminate on past regrets or future catastrophes. It chooses its focus. It chooses its narrative. You must also understand that your thoughts are not just private. They shape your posture, your tone, your energy, and your behavior. People can feel your mindset before you speak a word. A strong inner dialogue gives birth to confident outer actions. You walk differently. You speak with conviction. You face the day with certainty. Not because life is easier, but because your thoughts are stronger. Training your mind to think with power requires repetition. It requires awareness. It requires a commitment to self-honesty. You cannot conquer what you refuse to confront. So you must be willing to catch those thoughts that sabotage you, examine them, and replace them with something greater. Over time, this becomes your new default, your new mental home. And in that home, fear has no seat. Doubt has no place. Only clarity, courage, and conviction remain. So speak to yourself with the same passion and belief you would offer to someone you love. Remind your mind of your purpose daily. Direct your thinking like a general commands an army, because your mind will follow whatever thoughts you consistently allow. And when those thoughts are aligned with strength, resilience becomes inevitable. Every resilient mind is guided by one central force: purpose. Without purpose, strength crumbles under pressure. Without purpose, discipline fades, motivation dries up, and even the strongest can drift into confusion. Purpose is the foundation that anchors a strong mind through every storm. It is the reason behind every decision, the fuel behind every effort, and the meaning behind every hardship. When your life is connected to a clear purpose, your mind gains direction. And when your mind has direction, it becomes dangerous in the best way. Purpose is not a vague feeling. It is a conscious decision to live for something beyond mere comfort or survival. It's the deliberate choice to align your energy, thoughts, and actions with a mission that matters. Purpose doesn't have to be grand in the eyes of the world. It simply has to be real and meaningful to you. When you know why you are doing something, the how becomes easier to carry. When you forget the why, even the smallest challenge becomes unbearable. A strong mind does not wander aimlessly. It moves with clarity. It knows where it's going and why it must keep going. This clarity protects it from distraction, discouragement, and emotional sabotage. Every obstacle becomes smaller in the light of purpose. What once felt overwhelming becomes manageable, not because the challenge changed, but because the reason behind your persistence grew stronger. When you are driven by purpose, pain becomes a teacher rather than a threat. You begin to see failure as feedback instead of defeat. You understand that setbacks are not detours, they are training. You begin to welcome discomfort, not because you enjoy it, but because you understand what it's building in you. Purpose transforms suffering into strength and endurance into evidence of growth. It gives weight to every moment. Every effort has meaning. Nothing is wasted. To build a strong mind, you must revisit your purpose daily. You must keep it in front of you like a compass. Life will try to distract you with urgency, noise, and fear. But if you wake up each morning and reconnect to your purpose, you regain control. You're no longer reacting to life. You're responding with intention. You're choosing what matters. That kind of mental focus is rare, and that rarity makes it powerful. Purpose also demands discipline. A strong mind is not built by feeling like it. It is built by doing it. Discipline becomes lighter when it is carried by purpose. When your mission is clear, the sacrifices begin to feel smaller. The inconveniences begin to feel necessary. You stop asking, "Do I have to do this?" and start declaring, "I get to do this because of what it's building in me and who it's helping me become." People who drift through life often suffer not from a lack of ability, but a lack of direction. They wake up without a reason, and as a result, their minds are vulnerable to confusion, laziness, and emotional chaos. But when you know who you are, what you stand for, and where you're going, everything changes. You begin to build a mental shield against doubt, distraction, and discouragement. Purpose does not mean you will never feel tired or frustrated, but it means you will not quit. You will feel the weight, but you will carry it anyway. You will face resistance, but you will move through it with resolve, because purpose gives pain a context. And with the right context, even struggle becomes a sacred part of the journey. So ask yourself, what are you fighting for? What are you building? Who will benefit from your strength? The answers to those questions will feed your mind in the darkest moments. They will give you a reason to get back up when everything in you wants to lie down. And that reason, that burning why, will make your mind a fortress. When you are powered by purpose, you are not just mentally strong, you are unstoppable.